So now we're going to dive into back pain. A lot of people have back pain, and I guarantee it's because of lack of mobility and flexibility in their back. And areas that affect the back are tight hips, thoracic spine mobility, like I mentioned earlier, and weak glutes and core muscles as well also play a role in how well our backs function. Now, stability in the lumbar spine. So, the role of stability in the lumbar spine is we want to injury prevention. When we have a golf swing, there's a lot of torque that goes on in our back and in that lumbar spine. So, we need our lumbar spine to be as stable as possible to prevent injury. Now, also, this is where power transfer happens. Let's look at the X factor in the golf swing. That's how well does your upper body dissociate from your lower body? How well do they move separately? And a lot of people, again, especially if you've started later in life playing golf, we don't have that same kind of dissociation like the professional players do. And the better we can get this dissociation, the farther you're going to be able to hit the ball. You're going to have more power in that swing. Also, when you have a stable lumbar spine, you're going to maintain proper posture. And we need this when we address the golf ball. If you don't have a strong lumbar, you don't have strong glutes, your address to the golf ball will be compromised. And this leads to a lot of swing issues. And we want to make sure that we have the stable low back because then it complements hip and thoracic mobility. Um, Tight hip flexors, there is an impact of tight hip flexors on the lumbar spine. And because what happens is if you have tight hip flexors, the front of your legs, this pulls the pelvis forward and puts us into an anterior tilt. And this causes excessive curvature in the low back. And this leads to lumbar compression, increases stress on the discs, and increases low back pain. Our glutes help us stabilize the pelvis and protect the low back. That is what those do. But if we have tight hip flexors in the golf swing, we decrease our ability to rotate in the backswing, prevent proper loading and weight transfer, which reduces power in our golf swing. We can have early extension, we can have loss of spine angle, we can thrust our hips, do all sorts of stuff that we don't want to do in that golf swing. And it also, we can limit our follow through. So it prevents full hip rotation in the follow through, which again puts stress on the low back and the knees. And we want none of that. We want to regain mobility in the thoracic spine, and this allows for the proper rotation in the golf swing. It gives us better power transfer in the golf swing, and then also allows us to have a much better setup for our golf address. And if we lose mobility, we don't want to be losing mobility. Because if we do, again, we get early extension over the top. You could have a reverse pivot. Our body compensates and we have loss of mobility, which causes injuries, like I've said over and over again, reduces your club head speed and increases your risk of low back pain, none of which we want. And we want to be able to regain extension and rotation in our thoracic spine because this takes pressure off our low back, improves our swing mechanics, increases swing speed, and overall health improves. So the approach to alleviate back pain is to unlock the thoracic spine and hips, create stability in the lumbar spine and throughout the core, and we need to turn on the glutes for additional support. So let's jump into the back exercises that you can do for this. These are great. You're going to have the L-fold stretch, the pelvic tilt, and the glute bridge. So I'm going to stop share so we can see all of that. So with the L-fold stretch, I'm just going to move this back a little bit. You're going to take your chair, use any kind of chair you want. And with this, I want you just to hinge at the hips, keep your knees slightly bent, and allow your ears, your head to come between your arms, keeping those arms straight. Just feel a nice gentle stretch, and then you can rock back and forth. Listen to your body. Your body's gonna love this. Just come on up, but stick that butt out. And now take that right hand and put it over the left and just stretch, kind of stretch out that lat. Hold for 20 seconds each on each side, and then do the other, left over the right. You're going to find this stretch really helps just elongate everything. Okay, the pelvic tilt. The pelvic tilt, we're going to do standing or on the floor, and I highly recommend that you do this exercise in front of a mirror, only because it's really easy to get your knees involved instead of your pelvis. So with this, I want you to stand with knees slightly bent. All I want you to do is flatten your back, tuck your pelvis under, and then put an arch in your back. Tuck your pelvis under, put an arch in your back, tuck your pelvis under, and put an arch in your back. So you're going to do that back and forth. Now, if you struggle, like I said, do that in front of a mirror, um, because you might be amazed at what you actually see. So now I'm going to show you on the floor that same move, because again, some people have a hard time actually doing that exercise standing, and the pelvic tilt is very important in the golf swing. When you are transferring from your backswing to your fall, like as you're at impact position, that's when you go from an anterior tilt where you have a curve in your spine to that posterior tilt as you go into your follow through. So with this, all I want you to do is press your low back to the floor and then put an arch. You should be able to put your hand underneath your back. And then once you press your hand to the floor, you should not be able to put your hand underneath your back. And if you notice, my hips stay on the floor. I am not raising them up and down at all. So watch yourself with that. But pelvic tilt, excellent exercise. And then the last one to wake up our sleepy glutes is just a glute bridge. Have your feet flat on the floor, knees bent, and then I want you just to lift your hips up as high as you can, activating your glutes. Squeeze those glutes. Get your body into a straight line, push through your heels, and then slowly lower yourself down. And then go ahead and lift yourself up and squeeze and hold, and then lower yourself down. And do probably 10 to 15 of these, nice and slow. And that way you can wake up your sleepy glutes. All right.